Hi everyone, it's Peter from PS Sound, and now we are going to walk through this BMW project. You could see the introduction of if you haven't seen it, and then go to the description. You can see the playlist as well, or you can see it at the end of the video. And this is gonna be, I think, a very exciting addition to our projects we had on BMWs, because many people know that we had a crazy one, the 6GT, that the owner also saw and got many inspirations of.
Yeah, good inspiration, definitely.
You didn't hear it.
No.
But to be fair, we had so many updates of that, so many detailed videos, not just on YouTube, but also on Patreon. We shared so much of it that anybody can figure out what's worth doing and what's not worth doing. And the other BMWs that we worked on, they were rather simple upgrades with maybe a custom subwoofer, and that was it. Whereas this project is now somewhere halfway between the 6GT or a simple upgrade. But in terms of outcome, it's way beyond halfway. I think I'm safe to say that. It's doing a lot. It's doing a lot. Okay, so from the introduction, you could see the gear. We went through everything, what we were planning to fit into it. We had one addition to it, you will see. Let's go, let's start at the back. Let's see what happened here. So the plan was to keep it practical, because how many dogs do you have?
Got two.
Two. And we will fit those back in here, and it will be sectioned off. It will take a bit more than half of the boot this way.
2/3 for the dogs.
2/3 probably like the split in the seat there, and then 1/3 is going to be kept for daily shopping, whatever else. So we ended up with a custom enclosure on the side where we had to modify the panel. We had to cut out the carpet to gain more space. It's one of those things with custom projects that, yes, if anybody worries about selling the car in the future, then you will have to worry about it when you sell the car. That's going to be down the line in a couple of years, and we were clear about it. You're not going to sell it in 2-3 years. This car is solid, it's new, hardly has any mileage on it. And when you get to the stage that this car has to be turned back to factory, by then it's going to be easy to find a spare part for that side of the trunk from the breakers. This way we managed to get roughly 1 cubic foot, and that Focal 30KX has proved us many times in many other projects that it's a great sub, especially for the money. And it can play low. It delivers everything that you want from a 12-inch driver. The only reason why we don't have a grill on it yet is because we were planning to do something custom on our CNC, but then the CNC decided to pack up for a short bit, and we also had to weigh up the actual installation time, because if we do something handmade, it's going to come with labor cost. So we are waiting for actually a JL grill that we will somehow fit over this with a trim ring. That's going to be way more cost effective than making something custom, because many hours went into that enclosure. Those guys who follow our Patreon channel, they can see what went into it. Plus Eddie, my employee, has his own Patreon channel as well. In the description I'm going to drop in a link. You can check that out as well, because he has more than an hour-long video for this subwoofer enclosure fabrication, and he had another part for the front sub, and he shows exactly all the challenges, all the little tips that come with a project like this. We managed to find a material that now, especially we don't have the best lighting, from here it looks like the perfect match in terms of color, and to be fair, it is. Finding matching carpet these days, especially to OEM spec, is one of the biggest challenges we have. I hate it, and absolutely hate it. But we had a material called Dinamica, which is actually out of Mercedes. It's a Mercedes material they use for the latest Mercedes, which is like a vegan Alcantara. Yeah, it's mad. But that material, it's more like an Alcantara material. It's nice and smooth. But that material has a very similar color, and that really blends in really nicely. So that's our rear sub, because we will have a front sub as well. And I just have a short explanation about it, because I know many people may see this video for the first time, or any content from us, and it may look like it's a bit crazy to have a rear sub and a front sub. We have long videos about why you need a front sub, really long videos explaining. And People thinking that if you put a subwoofer here to the back and it's going to play all the frequencies evenly at the front at driving position, all the way up to integrate to the mid bass seamlessly, well, those people have really high hopes. Unfortunately, sub response from a given location can vary depending on cabin size and location of the driver from the listening position. And in longer estate or sport wagon cars like this, that sub is going to struggle above 50-55 hertz. You will have cancellations up front because that wave from the sub, when it goes to the front of the cabin, you will receive that wave first in listening position, and then of course it carries on, it goes to the windscreen and then it comes back. Certain frequencies will add up, certain frequencies will cancel out, and most of these longer cars struggle with this acoustical phenomenon, and there's no other way around it. Well, I know some people say to cross the sub high, deal with that cancellation, it is what it is, but if you want perfect integration, we always emphasize using a front sub. Let's consider front sub as a large mid bass, and then that may help people to understand how you can have two bass drivers. Let's call this one subwoofer, and let's call the front sub we have as a kick bass driver. So it just plays lower than the mid bass drivers can, and that helps us to integrate everything and tune everything seamlessly. And is it seamless?
Yeah.
It's pretty effortless now. This project, as I mentioned, that this is halfway between the SIG GT or a simple upgrade. This project may be just the perfect example what should be the standard for us for PS Sound. This is where, yeah, I can confidently say that this is a stunning system, even if we have factory mid-bass locations, but this works so well. So I talked plenty about the rear sub. Now we want to show you what happened underneath the floor, where we have the C4 that we had in the introduction, which is driving the mid and the tweeter. Somebody messaged me after the introduction if the P6 is not good enough for mid and tweet. Why we chose this. It's one of those things, if you need more channels than 6, and if you want to add channels, and with this amplifier, with the P6 Ultimate, we can actually pull that one out. Yep. So now you can see all of it. The P6 Ultimate is only 6-channel amplified. You could run semi-active doors with mid and tweet if it was a plug-and-play upgrade. That would be 2 channels, 2 for the bass drivers and 2 for the rear maybe, and that's it, you run out of channels. But we wanted to run fully active at the front, we wanted rear feel, and then we ended up with extra channels that we used for a dual voice call front sub. Yeah, we could use that for front sub and mid bass as well. We could utilize it that way too. But realistically, we wanted to make sure that we get the finest quality for the mid and the tweeter. It would be interesting to try the difference if it's audible if you were running the mid and tweet from the P6 or the C4. But we didn't have the time to test, and we don't even need.
You're not interested, so.
No, we don't need to play with that. Or if somebody thinks that, this amplifier with the amplified channels is not good enough to power other drivers, then that's the point when you just go with a standalone DSP like the Ultra, and then you have standalone amplifiers. But when you have limited space, tight space, you have to consider what you can fit. Because if we wanted one more C4, maybe it could fit here with the DSP, but then that would give you 8 channels. You still need more amplification for the rest of the channels and the subwoofer too. Where do you fit anything? So currently this is the best combination we have. We used it in a few cars, and I tuned a few cars with this combination, having P6 Ultimate with a P1, P2, whatever digital amp you want to run with the optical output, and an additional amp, which can be the C4, or Helix also has the H400X, or whichever model. It's slightly cheaper than the C4, slightly smaller as well in terms of power as well. Having said that, that would be perfectly enough for mid and tweet still. Having the C4 for mid and tweet in terms of power, it's a bit of an overkill. But hey ho.
Hey, bro.
That was your Christmas gift, a bit late. But no, you bought that before Christmas, so.
Yeah.
But this works really well. Easy layout, we still have access to the battery. This is just a block to support the 2 floors, so we can load it. It's not gonna bend and then get closer to the amplifiers. Nice and simple. That's where the main power comes in from the battery. That's why we have the fused power distribution for every single output for all 3 amps. And simple as that. There's not much else to show here. Okay. Then I go to the front. So in introduction, we could see that something different would happen, and you can see now that we don't have mid-range in the door. It's not that you can't get good results from the factory door location, which is a bit low. Yes, it will have its limitations, but for a daily car, you can still get good results. Especially if you have the ability to run the mid and tweed separate, fully active, then it gives you more flexibility on tuning. It looks like we have a delivery guy who might need the UPS package and may have to hang up. So getting back to explaining the difference between the door location or a pillar location for a mid-range or dash location, whatever else you wanted to mount the mid-range. So many people can debate about it. I'm not getting too deeply into it. As I say, you can still get fantastic results with the factory mid-range location, and you can still get relatively high sound stage. Getting high center image is not difficult. Even back in the day when people had mid-range down in the kicks, you could still get high center image in the center. But getting left and right at the same height could have the rainbow effect when the sides were pulling down a touch. And having the mid-range up at a level where you don't have any, anything in their way, your leg, your passenger's leg, shopping bag, anything like that, or if you move your leg, the response would change. This way on the pillar, you definitely don't have that problem. And also the mounting rigidity is a whole different point. Yes, in this car, the mid-range was at least mounted on the inner skin, but when we built pillars, let me jump in. When we build pillars, people know our process. We make them really, really rigid. We use our special milkshake with steel in it and whatnot, and nothing rattles, nothing buzzes. In this car, we were a bit afraid that having a 4-inch mid would be a bit too intrusive, but it's not really the case in this car. With the wide-angle camera, yeah, it looks a bit different. Looking more on axis and looking more intrusive. Yeah, it's strange. I changed the wide angle and it looks different. But honestly, it's not that intrusive. Although we will see. You will drive the car home. Well, how do you feel now sitting in it? And
I saw the 8-pillar build pictures on Patreon and I thought, shit, they're big. But sitting in the car,
it doesn't feel that
absolutely fine. Yeah, not worried at all. They look fantastic.
Yeah, it doesn't block much view, and it has a nice flow. We managed to create a nice shape and it blends in. But this way, yes, when we have stereo effects in music, when it goes from left to right, back and forth, and you have these crazy details, everything stays super linear, eye level, and we don't have the rainbow effect, that's for sure. Yes, again, some competitors can say that pillar location for a mid-range can have its acoustical issues, that certain frequencies are sucked out, you can't fix with a DSP. We didn't have anything major to worry about here. We also had an RT evaluation of this car on Patreon. If some of you are so crazy and so into tuning and measurements, then you should check out Patreon, honestly, and there's a lot to learn from there. But we had, none of those inherent big issues in this car, and we got fantastic response. These 4-inch drivers are very capable. They don't struggle. They can play low enough, and they do everything, honestly. For the money, they are unbeatable. Then we have the MSS1 Magnesium, and they are just as I expected after tuning a car in Vegas a few months ago. Yeah, these details are great. The original MSS1s were not that good, but these are awesome. I could live with the system as is, the way it is. Yes, you could locate the mid-range on the dashboard as well, but that's way bigger modification. Changing a pillar back to factory is easy. It's that easy. So that was the main reason why we went with the pillars. Also, after building dozens of pillars with our Technic, it's not such a heavy bespoke work for us than pulling a dashboard. Although in yours, I don't even think how a mid-range would fit there. What amount of challenges you would have to deal with. It's not impossible, but I think, this cluster shape, yeah, would cause issues. Yeah, there's not much room there. But that's really pushing things to a point where, you know, a system becomes pure competition level, and then people don't care about sacrifices. This is still considered to be a daily system, and maybe a bit beyond OEM Plus, because we cut few carpet pieces. But other than that, it doesn't look intrusive. That's all you see in the cabin, just those pillars. And of course, if you pay a bit more attention, that's where we now have a front sub. So that was the addition to the equipment layout we didn't show in the introduction. We ordered an SB Acoustics sub, which is a dual 3-ohm driver, so this way we can power that from the P6 pretty efficiently, and we have enough headroom. Here probably I will have to insert a picture, you can see what's behind the carpet. And Eddie did an amazing job, especially as you might be able to pull it out. You have to reach underneath and pull it from the bottom. It's stiff, it's in. There you go, you can practice it. So that's where we have that sub in, I think it's around 0.4 cubic foot. It's pretty small, but for that driver, it's enough to play the range it needs to play as a front sub. And we have enough power from the P6 to power it. People would want more power, but in reality for a front sub, you don't need that much level, because if you were sending it more power, you would just put it back on the DSP and it would be out of balance. It would overpower the front end. So we have perfectly enough headroom from that amp running this. And from the RT evaluation, we could see that this sub just does exactly what we need.
Yeah, definitely.
It plays low enough, and there's no problem playing high to integrate to the mid-bass drivers. And it definitely gives beautiful upfront tight clean bass. It's not like when you have to force the mid-bass drivers to play low and they don't have that dynamics anymore, or they struggle with excursion, or they become uncontrolled. Here in this system with the additional front sub, everything is just so tight and so controlled. It's amazing. I really love it. So that was the addition that we added to the car. I will have to insert pictures to show the Underseat drivers, the installation of them, because we went with the factory location without major modifications. There's not much else you can do in a BMW, especially in the 3 Series. The kicks are busy. It would be a big job to fit mid-bass in the kicks. Then the front sub wouldn't be possible either. So having this combination, keeping them OEM location with the additional front sub, if I'm behind the DSP, I can do magic and they disappear. You don't even really feel much vibration in this car, even if the drivers are underneath your bum. But that's because we did the trick that we didn't install them in factory application, which I don't even think it would have worked out great. For another reason that I have to dig pictures. I have pictures I can show to you as well, that the original situation with these bass drivers is that you have like a 3 by 18 centimeter oblong hole on the chassis on the side. And that plastic mounting you have for BMWs, they have an outlet on the plastic to push the pressure out to the side seal. In this instance, in this car, that outlet size is almost like cut diagonally, and only half of the surface area is actually functional for breathing. The other half is cut off. So what surface area do you have for that driver to perform and breathe? The more power you put into an aftermarket upgraded speaker, more excursion you have, the more pressure you create underneath the seat, and then the more resonances you get. And it would have been just like most of the simple factory upgrades that some of the BMWs can rattle as hell. You may not hear it inside of the cabin that much, but it's definitely noticeable outside. And it also, you know, draws attention. When you want to play a system accurately and clean, it will make a difference on the performance of the mid-bass. And even if we use that Steg plug and play upgrade, but now we made it IB and we cut a hole underneath it to breathe out. And yes, we have protection underneath it, plus we have the under tray, so you can't see anything from the modification. Nothing is going to damage the driver, but what it does, that it plays so clean. It just plays clean. It doesn't have to play super low because the front sub, what did we call it, the kick bass driver? The front sub, you know, plays the range below 80 hertz. And then this way, the underseats, they just perform great. It's so clean, even outside. When you were playing music, we were listening to the car outside. Okay, that's one, maybe negative point that you can hear the mid bass outside of the car. Just a bit cleaner, a bit more, a bit louder. But even the factory application would be very audible. And then you would have shitloads of frettles outside that now we don't have.
So the people outside get to enjoy the car as well.
Oh, you have a bit more tuk-tuk outside, especially here because we have the sidewalls and it's a bit of a closed space. Yeah, it gives a bit tighter clean outside. Just always keep in mind if you park up somewhere close to a house. The sub is not audible outside, but the kick bass is. Yeah, of course if you send it. If you play it at moderate levels, it's just not an issue. But it's worth to keep that in mind. As in introduction as well, we mentioned that we kept the head unit just on speaker level. I didn't even show it, but we go through it. It's still good enough for radio and sat-nav and whatnot. And then with the HEC Bluetooth module, which is an aptX module, I got questions regarding that too. That can transmit now data that you can stream lossless files and it performs well. I'm sure there are always people arguing about Bluetooth can never be lossless. Did it sound lossy? Did it sound lacking detail, dynamics, clarity?
Not at all.
Of course, what... There you go, I have a phone call. I'll remute this. Of course, depending on what source you use to stream, you can hear difference. Now we use the file, you will use your phone, but you will see. If your phone can connect to the aptX module with aptX or LDAC, then you're fine. But to be fair, even when we use an iPad or an iPhone streaming to the built-in module in the Helix, it still sounds great. We had a car, a Mercedes E-Class that we built last summer, and we had most integration on it, and we could just tell that something wasn't right. Even if it was fully digital integration, the most box was just not dynamic enough, and we heard compression on the system. And then as soon as we added the module to the system, which is very inexpensive, it's almost like a no-brainer, the DSPM should come with it. System just came alive. It was instant. You hit play on your phone streaming directly to the DSP, and then it was like, holy shit. You didn't even want to use the head unit anymore, even if it was with most integration.
For me, I was always going to go Bluetooth into the DSP.
Yeah. So overall, what this system is doing compared to the 6GT, it's amazing. I don't know. I can't say more about it. We will have a little demo video. I know it's just for inspiration, but at least just you get a bit of an idea about what this car does. But it's so clean. There's no vibrations, no rattles, nothing. And yeah, you might see this car on a few meetings in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we talked about that you come to the one on the 2nd of March.
Yeah, so
There you go. Advertising, guys. On the 2nd of March, in a month's time, we will have a meeting in Brighton at the Marina. I may have to put the directions to that meeting in description as well. Also, if you go on our Facebook page, even if you don't have Facebook, you can search for PS Sound. Go on the Facebook page, and then right on the top of the page, as you scroll down, you will have events, and you will see the upcoming events where you can sign up, you can join, and you will be able to hear dozens of cars on this meeting. It's a very friendly environment. We go out for dinner, and it's the best way to get some inspiration. To be fair, you got the inspiration for this amp layout as well from John's Mercedes.
yes.
That we built, and that car became UK champion in skilled OEM class. That's something we never shared on YouTube. We never had the chance to have content of that car. Maybe we can do something sharing that project too. But we had the same combination of amps in that one too, and it worked great. I don't think I'm going to drag it any longer, guys. There will be a separate video for the demo. Headphones advised, because I use the binaural mics just like for this recording. And yeah, feel free to share it. Do the usual things. Comment, subscribe, share the love of car audio and sound quality. And if you have a BMW, if you want to go further than just plug and play upgrade, then you know where to go. All right, I'm going to finish it here. Hopefully we will see you soon. Take care.